Okay, so we are going to go ahead and start getting into some football. All right. First topic that I would like to talk about is what is going on with the Giants. You know, they've made a lot of mistakes just in this past year. I mean, to start off with, they let go Saquon Barkley.
Yep, he's having a phenomenal year.
Let him go to the Eagles, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on, but let him go to their rivals in the division, the Eagles. And now they're letting go of Daniel Jones, who they had signed back in 2023. They signed him to a 4-year, $160 million extension. I mean, that's them, along with that and letting go of Saquon Barkley, that's them selling out on this dude, Daniel Jones, saying, you are going to be our guy going forward. And a year and a half into it, now they're like, nope, never mind, we're letting you go. Sadly for Daniel Jones, none of that money was guaranteed.
He needs a new agent. Get yourself a new agent, Jones, if you're watching this.
I think the only stipulation he had was if he were to get hurt, there would be like $20 million guaranteed or something. But he didn't get hurt, and they let him go. The Giants will eat that cap hit, so they can't use that money to go sign on to other players, but they do not have to pay Daniel Jones that money. Daniel Jones, actually, we researched this right before the podcast, found out that he signed with the practice squad of the Vikings. Now, the Vikings, right now, they have Sam Darnold starting for him. He's been doing a great job. Yeah. I mean, the Vikings are, I think, 9-2. They're doing great. And
no reason to change.
Not only that, remember that they drafted the rookie J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. And he's been hurt all year. So I don't see any long-term potential with Daniel Jones over with the Vikings. They're on the practice squad, which means that any team in the NFL, if they have a quarterback go down within the next 3 weeks, they have the ability to go and sign him before the trade deadline, basically steal him from the practice squad. But the Vikings are not a team that I saw him going to. I thought there would be a team that would probably pick him up and try to utilize him this year, but it seems like everyone's pretty set in who their quarterback is. Yeah. And in all honesty, I mean, Daniel Jones played 6 seasons with the Giants. Okay, in that 6 seasons, 22, 44, and 1 record. So he's losing over a third of the games. Now, obviously, that's the whole Giants squad.
It's not all on him.
But he had a 70 touchdown to 47 interception ratio.
That's not bad.
47 interceptions, though. I mean,
that's a lot. But
it's a lot. It is. I give him it's less than 10 if you're quickly doing the math.
And 70 seems kind of low.
Yeah, 70 touchdowns. That's a little over 10 touchdowns this season. 47 interceptions is probably like 8 interceptions a year. I mean, not the best numbers, in my opinion. Definitely not a 4-year, $160 million. I mean, what are we doing where we're throwing these quarterbacks? And not only just quarterbacks. There's a lot of players in the league, but mostly you see it with quarterbacks where you're just tossing them all the money you have. And then, like Daniel Jones, like Russell Wilson over with the Broncos, you change your mind halfway through the contract and you're just willing to eat all that money.
Yep.
It's just like...
Well, it's questionable for them to do it from the beginning when they did it in 2023, because you looked at a record, you looked at a guy that you brought him in to be the next Eli Manning. That's what you did. You brought him in like that. It could have been like a Josh Allen kind of feel. That's what everybody I thought. That's how I compared him.
I mean, you could see the flashes.
Yeah, but he just was not consistent. And is it more that there wasn't enough around him to make a good team? I mean, you could argue that for sure. But correct me if I'm wrong, they were going to start his backup, I believe, last week. Mm-hmm. And that he demanded, went to the GM and basically said, I want you to release me. Which, interesting.
There's a lot of drama happening over there. If you watch that, the Hard Knocks episodes that they released in the offseason where they were letting go of Saquon Barkley, I mean, you can just tell the dynamic. I'm pretty sure soon, just like the Jets, they're going to be cleaning house over there.
Going to have to.
You know, whenever they let go of Saquon Barkley, I remember the episode where the owner, he came in and he was like, well, if we let him go and he goes to the Eagles, I'm going to be pretty upset. And that's exactly what happened. And he's killing it. He's killing it over with the Eagles.
Yep.
So That's Daniel Jones. The next thing I would like to talk about is how is the AFC and the NFC championships sizing up right now? I think it's about what you would guess to be the case at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, you have the Eagles and the Lions over in the NFC. The Lions 10-1, right? They're right there, rivaled with the Chiefs. They're looking great.
Yes, they are.
And, I mean, I saw the stat line earlier where, you know, they beat teams up so much that the next week that these teams face other opponents, they are 1-11.
Wow.
So it's not only just the week that they're whooping you, they're ruining your next week too. Like, that's a team. And then, obviously, the Eagles, 9-2, they're looking stacked.
Yep.
I mean, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, their offense is just crazy, which I'll talk a little bit more about them later. And then over on the AFC side, or actually I'd like to do an honorable mention for the NFC, the Vikings at 9-2. Like I said before, the Vikings somehow are piecing it together a little bit, even without I wouldn't say without a consistent, because Sam Darnold has been pretty solid this year, but I think it was pretty clear early on he's not the dude that they wanted there. It was J.J. McCarthy. Yeah. They wanted that rookie to step in and go ahead and take the reins, but Sam Darnold,
maybe not now. He's
been playing great.
Yeah, let him keep playing until it falls off. I mean, right now, 9-2, you're proving yourself.
Exactly. So now over into the AFC, we got the Chiefs 10-1 and the Bills 9-2. I very much think that this is going to be another year with those two facing off in the AFC Championship, unless the honorable mention, the 8-3 Steelers step in with that defensive force in the playoffs, which we're going to make the playoffs. We make the playoffs almost every year, right? And we're sizing up the AFC North right now to where we've already beat the Ravens once. If we have to see them later on too, I think we'll be able to do it again. We just have the Ravens number. You know, lost to the Browns, and we have the Bengals coming up, which sometimes we drop those fluke games, but they suck so much in the season it doesn't make much of a difference. Yeah. So I think we're going to see the Steelers in the playoffs. If the Steelers are able to face one of these teams and have a defensive force type of game that they have the potential to do, you know, where a TJ Watt has a couple of sacks or Alex Highsmith has a couple of sacks, maybe a Minka interception, or now we have Patrick Queen, maybe he gets a strip somewhere. If we can just have a couple of those turnovers, I think that we have a solid chance of beating either of those teams, really.
If I had to pick right now, you're going to pick two. Who is playing in the Super Bowl? And I'm going to tell you, this is my pick right now.
Okay.
Lions and Bills.
Lions and Bills.
Yep. I think the Lions, they're going to, hopefully they can make a run in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They made a decent run last year, but they need to prove that all this is worth it.
Yeah, I think it's championship or bust for them.
Yep. I mean, they have a phenomenal coaching staff. They've been playing exceptionally well. Eagles are going to be their toughest match, I think. I would like to see the Steelers play them just to see kind of how they match up. But I feel like with the Lions, they have very dynamic offense. So how would the Steelers handle that? Could they get pressure on the quarterback? Could they break the line? That's really the question. So, but if I had to pick right now, I'm saying Lion Bills.
Lion Bills. I think I'd agree with you. I mean, the Bills showed already that they can get past the stump of the Chiefs earlier in the season. And it wasn't one of those games where it was like whoever had the ball in the end won. Right. You know, it was like a Josh Allen, I'm taking this game. Yeah. Like, he means business this year. Yeah. I think they can get past that hump. Like I said, though, them Steelers, don't discount the Steelers. I think if we could get some perfect scenario where we don't have to face either the Bills or the Chiefs and we allow them to knock one or the other out, that would be ideal. If the Steelers had to take on the Chiefs or the Bills first round and then next round had to go take on the other one right after that, then that's a lot harder of an obstacle. Yeah. But I think the Steelers have a chance. And over there in the NFC, I mean, look, the Lions are dynamic. And their X's and O's are beautiful. Their offensive line is beautiful. But the Eagles are just, it seems like they have the best at every position. They have Saquon Barkley, obviously. Jalen Hurts isn't bad. And then you got A.J. Brown over on the outside, he's a very hard guard for anybody.
Yep.
So, I mean, It's definitely between those two. I mean, I don't see the Vikings making any dents in the playoffs. I think it's going to be the Eagles and the Lions taking each other out in the NFC Championship for sure.
I mean, they've got about 5-6 games left. Everybody does. So still a decent amount of the season left to figure out, can people stay healthy? What's going to happen? How are they going to handle certain teams? So still a decent amount of season left. But, I mean, just with the way they're playing now, it looks pretty prominent that those 4 teams will be leading the rush anyway.
I mean, my final thought on it, I think the Eagles and the Lions match up so well, but the one thing that stands out to me, everything in my opinion is pretty equal. With that double-headed monster at running back with the Lions and Saquon Barkley, they kind of cancel each other out. With Amon St. Brown at wide receiver and A.J. Brown at wide receiver, they cancel each other out. Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts can run. Sure. And not only can he run, they have a very signature play that gets them out of tight situations. Those 3rd and shorts, those 4th and shorts, the tush push.
Yep, that's true.
And so I think that's a type of game where it could come down to a play like that.
Yep. And they'll do it. I don't think their coaching staff won't have any concerns of going with a 4th and 1.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the final thing I'd like to talk about with the NFL. All right, we've already discussed this to a degree, but I just want to ask you, is running the ball back to relevance, back to importance in the NFL currently? Because there was a long time, especially like those late Peyton Manning years, the Tom Brady, the Aaron Rodgers, where it was like normal for a quarterback to drop back and pass it 30 to 40 times in a game. And the running back maybe gets 10 to 15 touches. So I just want to read this off. Saquon Barkley leads the league currently with 1,392 yards. He plays for the 9-2 Eagles. Yep. So we just talked about them. We're talking about them going to the NFC Championship. Second in the league is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is right there behind him with 1,325 yards. He plays for the 8-4 Ravens, which I know the Steelers are on top in that division, but they're right there. They can still easily make the playoffs. There's been multiple years where 2 AFC North teams do make the playoffs. Yep. Third is Josh Jacobs with 994 yards. So significant jump down. There's almost 300 yards difference, a little over 300 yards. But he plays for the 8-3 Packers. At 3, those are winning teams. Packers are still in the race to be able to win their division, possibly. I mean, I know they got the Lions up there, but they're right there. And then 4th is Jahmyr Gibbs with the Lions, 886 yards. So the top 4 rushing leaders in the NFL all play for the teams that are winning.
Winning teams, yep.
A lot of times in the past we would look at the running stats and we would say, if a player like Derrick Henry has 1,300 yards, it was for the Tennessee Titans, and it's because they weren't winning that much. They hand him the ball 30 yards in a game because they don't have a passing attack.
30 times, yeah.
I do want to point out that all of these teams, they have great quarterbacks right there paired with them. So if anything, I think this speaks to, it is not a passing league. It is not a running league. You have to have a good player at both positions. You have to be able to balance out the field, and that's where you're going to be most effective.
Yep. Now, my thoughts are, though, I feel like there's several teams that are trying to do this, and there's several teams that are doing it very well, to where you have a dual threat at the quarterback and the running back.
Yeah.
So you have a quarterback that can be mobile, that can run, that can get yards for you, pick up, the 4th and 3 or 3rd and 2, whatever it is. And you also have a dominating running back at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, now, I'm not saying it's working for every team, because there's some teams where it's not.
Colts.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Richardson's, he's there. You've got a phenomenal running back behind him, Jonathan Taylor, but sometimes it doesn't always click. I mean, I don't know. But I have seen teams kind of move that direction to try to make that happen. The pocket passer seems like it's not necessarily a going away, but I don't think it's what teams are necessarily looking for anymore. Not as much.
Yeah.
Maybe it just depends on the team.
Let's just sit here and think for a second. What young pocket passers are there left? I mean, I can name you 3 or 4 old guys. You got Kirk Cousins, you got Aaron Rodgers, obviously. But I mean, the young people coming in, even Bo Nix, he scrambles, he can run. Drake May over with the Patriots, he can run.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Jaden McDaniels, obviously Caleb Williams. I mean, they're all runners nowadays. Yeah. Everyone's athletic. There's not really any pocket passers coming into the league. So I think that's a great point. I think the dual threat quarterback is definitely the new wave, and in order to have an effective dual threat quarterback, you have to have a strong running game where you can fake it to the inside.
Yeah. And the question is, does that stick? So you might see teams who start to move away from that because they're realizing, one, their quarterbacks are getting hurt, whatever it is, and they decide to go back to that pocket passer. But I don't know. We'll see. See how it develops.
We'll have to see, absolutely.